What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host Phil. Phil, I don't really have an intro. It's kind of it's an interesting podcast we're going to be having today. This is the most frustrated or rant-filled show that could be expected in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it a little while ago, kind of in related to fantasy football and not overreacting to week one, but also to kind of try to take your emotions out of it a little bit. So there was a time when the Bills lost in playoffs. You and I immediately hopped on the podcast, within an hour, and had to deal with it. And it was very heartbreaking, very tough to talk about in that exact moment. This has given us about 24 hours, little under 24 hours, about a full game under 24 hours worth of time to kind of digress and, take a little bit of emotion out of it. But it still hurts, and it's still, like you said, going to be definitely a little bit heated, a little bit fueled. I mean, most of my thoughts that I had yesterday are still lingering with me right now. So we'll see how it goes.
So we'll dive into it. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on Twitter at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com and look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. We'll start with the Bills, even though I kind of just want to skip over it. Monday Night Football. They were facing the New Jersey Jets, and yes, it's still New Jersey because they still play in New Jersey, and it'll be New Jersey until they move to actually New York. But they did lose this one 22-16 versus the Jets in overtime. Punt return for a touchdown after a 3-and-out by Josh Allen's led putrid offense that was there. Phil, I kind of want to start with the good this time rather than the bad because there's not much good to talk about, and I kind of want to get that out of the way now. And I know a lot of people have already been talking about this. When this is coming out on Wednesday, there'll be a whole Tuesday of conversation already. So you're getting a day after. So really, I guess we should also preference YouTube might be out a little bit later in the day, Wednesday or even Thursday because of that. It takes a while to, edit and get it out. So look for that later Wednesday if you're listening to this. And if you're used to the normal YouTube and watching our wonderful faces on YouTube, it's just going to come out a little bit later, and we'll put that on the social media sites whenever it does officially get uploaded to YouTube. But Phil, what are some good things you saw in the first game of the 2023 season for the Buffalo Bills, even though there might not be a ton?
Yes, this is kind of what I was talking about with taking a step back. I think, honestly, yes, the loss is annoying. Yes, going to overtime against the Jets is annoying. First game of the year, you want to win, all that stuff. But I think if you really take a step back, there was arguably more positive than negative in this game as a whole. Again, taking the score out of it. I think there were some really good takeaways from this team on the positive side, and most of mine were pretty similar to yours. So we'll start with, I guess, the defensive side of the ball. Floyd and Rousseau looked absolutely incredible. I mean, I don't know if this is what you were hoping for out of Floyd when you got him, and hoping that Rousseau was going to take that next step. Again, he played really well when Miller was on the field opposite of him, and I think now he's doing the same thing when Floyd's opposite of him. So he really works well, obviously, when he's not the guy being keyed in on, when he has a little bit of support on that defensive line. Both of them together played absolutely incredible. And again, I think this is what you're hoping for out of Floyd. I don't know if this is what you were exactly expecting out of Floyd right off the bat in game one, but there were some other positives on defense. I mean, defense as a whole looked really good. I mean, yes, Aaron Rodgers went down after 4 plays. Yes, it's a really rough time for the Jets, and as a Bills fan and a team without a quarterback for a really long time, we get it. So, I mean, for all their kind of hopes and dreams that they had on this season, losing Rodgers in the first 4 plays of his time as a Jet, extremely depressing for them. So even though they got the win, pretty much a loss for them as a whole. But I think the defense played really well. There were still the big plays that you have to limit. But overall, Milano played incredible. I thought Bernard played pretty decent with his 11 tackles, led the entire team. There were some plays I think he could be a little bit better, but for his first, big league game, I think he played really well. And again, Floyd and Rousseau looked absolutely incredible. I think that defensive line is finally what Brandon Beane was kind of envisioning the last 2 or 3 years that he's been trying to get that defensive line to be a little bit more impressive in the sack department and just QB hurries.
Yeah, I think Leonard Floyd is a monster addition. The whole game I was just thinking, what's this going to look like when Von Miller's back? That three-headed monster that we were talking about before the season. Rousseau looks like an absolute animal out there. He definitely took the next step in his third year. Floyd's just that veteran presence on the other side. He contributed 1.5 sacks. Rousseau somehow didn't get a sack, even though he was pressuring the quarterback nonstop. Bernard, I think, is a work in progress. I think he's an upgrade over what Klein and Dodson would have been. And for a first time, signal caller out there, I didn't think it was that bad. I think he's got a lot of growth and a lot of potential and a lot of stuff out there that I think he needs to improve on, but I think he is the best option they currently have until Kirksey is possibly ready to kind of compete with him for the middle linebacker spot. Matt Milano is just an absolute beast. He's going to be an all-pro again this year. He was all over the field. That one tackle and hit that he had, I think it was on Zach Wilson. I'm pretty sure it was the Zach Wilson hit that he cleaned up. I don't know how Zach Wilson finished the game. It was an absolute monster hit. But the biggest thing, and I guess we can go into the negatives in a bit on the defense, but I thought they did a very good job in the wide receiver room. I thought that for the most part, Bernard played very well, 100% of snaps. I don't even remember Dane Jackson getting very many opportunities whatsoever. I would have to look at the snap count. But I thought Bernard was very good. I thought Tre'Davious White was pretty good. The
are you
DBs...
Are you talking about Benford, or are you talking about...
Benford, yes. I keep saying Bernard. I apologize. Benford, yes. Benford. He played 100% of the snaps on the outside, so I think he's locking down that CB2 role. So overall, I think the defense had a good game. And with the performance they put out there, it should have been a victory. This is not anywhere near on the defense. It was a lot of bend but don't break kind of possessions they had, with some big runs by Breece Hall where they just couldn't stop him whatsoever. But I thought for the most part the defense had a very good game.
Yeah, even the one touchdown the Jets did get, I mean, that's just all Garrett Wilson being
unbelievable,
ridiculous. I mean, White had him perfectly covered. The throw isn't good. He just made an absolutely incredible play.
He caught it on his back.
Yeah, and that's the only touchdown they got. So take that away. The defense just held them to field goals, and I know obviously you can't take that away, but most players in the NFL aren't making that kind of catch in that situation. So, I mean, for the most part, I thought the defense played really, really well. Positives on the offensive side, Cook looks really impressive. He honestly reminds me, and it's weird to say because Cook's in his second year, but he didn't really get going until the end of the year last year. But from watching the Thursday night game and watching Gibbs out there as the really talented first-round rookie for the Detroit Lions, I thought it was very similar in just the speed and the quickness that James Cook has out there. You can tell he's not going to be, the biggest guy. He's not going to really break through a ton of tackles, but once he gets that little bit of space, he can find the edge, he can find those cuts, and once he has that little bit of room, he can really take off. I think the offense is going to need to find a way to really get him in space, whether it's through passing or just different kind of running looks, but when he had the ball in his hands, he looks good, he looks like the guy, so really happy to see him in his first, true game as the number one starter look like he did. And then I thought Knox and Kincaid, the two together, they went 7 of 8 for 51 yards. They are both going to be really, really good. I think both of those two together, I think if they can find a way to continue working them in together and packaging them together, I think they're both really good at catching. They're both really good at short yardage. They're both really, really good at running over the defense with just their insane Bash Bro style. So really like to see them get more involved. I thought what they did, especially Kincaid as the rookie coming in, I thought he looked every bit the part that he did in preseason. Looked like he could catch the ball really well. Looked like he was going 110%, running a lot of those players over. So those two together, I think, can be a real big part of this offense if they can incorporate them. And then Diggs needs to be targeted, maybe 20, 25 times a game with the way he plays. He's just incredible, and he is yet to be really proven otherwise. He's just a very special talent, and when the Bills absolutely needed that field goal on that last drive, they just targeted him over and over and over, and the Jets know they have one guy they're going to on this drive, and they had absolutely no answer for him other than one missed throw and one pass interference on the offense, it was there, but also kind of debatable. So outside of that, he was incredible. So I think they just need to really find a way to get him much, much more involved.
As somebody who was going against Stephon Diggs in fantasy and ended up losing by 0.6 because of that last catch that put him over 100 yards. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but they did tie the game. But he's just unbelievable. He's finally getting the targets that he definitely deserves. I hope this keeps up. 33% target share. That's an ungodly number. He's just so good. He cooked Sauce Gardner how many times out there. He made him look silly. Knox and Kincaid, I think those two are going to be very good together, running 13 personnel. I really like that. And then Cook, I thought he was very good versus a top 5 defense out there. There wasn't a ton of holes. Their defensive line is really good. Their linebackers are really good. The DBs are really good. 12 for 46 and then 4 through 17 in the air. I think he's going to have a very, very good season. But that's about it for the good for me. For the bad, I guess we can start with the defense, and then we can move over to the forward again. The defense, I think I summed this up really quickly in the good that I was going to hit on it. They had no answer for Breece Hall whatsoever. 10 for 127, and then 1 for 20 through the air. And I know a lot of that was on that monster run, but he had, 2 or 3 monster breakaways, and Benford had to catch up to him, which I still don't know how he caught up to him and made that tackle and saved 4 points. But it was unbelievable. Tre'Davious White, he missed a couple tackles that he needs to come up with and would have stopped and helped the defense a bit more. But again, this is not on the defense whatever. This is just some of the bads. And then Poyer, I try not to knock these players because I know what they're doing is a lot difficult. You can't even compare it to what I'm doing right here talking about it. But he looks slow. I mean, there were plenty of times that big monster Breece Hall run, he got spun around. There was another play where he got spun around on the sidelines. He just looked a lot slower than he did last year. And again, I think he is a very, very good player as a safety back there. But there is a reason that he was left out and had to come back to Buffalo for a less amount of money. Is because he's on the wrong side of 30. He did sign that 2-year deal, but it was definitely a red flag for me to see that he didn't look like normal Jordan Poyer back there. He looked like he lost a step, and if he loses a step in this Sean McDermott defense, this defense could be in for a long season of big, big plays that get by Jordan Poyer.
Yeah, and I think the good thing about that is you do have some young guys behind Poyer. I mean, right. Taylor Rapp was out there a little bit. He's got a lot of speed. He's got some promise. DeMar Hamlin, obviously not out there, but at some point you hope he can get out there. And, Cam Lewis also kind of in that a little bit of that role. So I think they have some younger guys coming up that they're hoping can, if needed, take over that spot. I do agree. I think he's at the point where, like you said, he's very good at playing safety. He's still really good at what he does. And I think he's at the point where he's so good at his positioning that it's going to help him make most of those plays. But when you have somebody as electric as Breece Hall running at you full speed and you're not moving at all, you're going to get spun around a few times. And like you said, it happened a couple times, which is not good. And it's one of the things that the Bills defense has been susceptible to at times, those really big runs where they really kind of compact the line, get everybody in, and then that running back just breaks that first or second wave and off he goes. Some of it was missed tackles, which is also just really not good to see. But again, you need to have an answer for a player like Breece Hall. It's going to happen throughout the entire year. But other than that, I think the defense played really well given everything. But yeah, a couple of those plays you want back, you got to have back. And it's just really about limiting that player to, obviously it's very easy to say, stopping him at the point of attack, but it's not letting him get through those 3, 4, 5 hits that he's taking really early on before he breaks it past everybody and then, like you said, takes off.
So 2 more, and then we can kind of move over to the offense. Special teams, I thought they were bad. They were bad in preseason. You saw a bunch of kickoffs return for good yardage. You saw punt returns return for good yardage, and this time it definitely carried over and kicked their butt with a 65-yard punt return to end the game. They had a 28-yard return on a kickoff too. So this is a element of their game that Sean McDermott has stressed since he's been here, and this is one of the shakiest games in the special teams department just because of that long punt return. If they didn't have that, it would have looked a lot better, but ending a game on a 65-yard punt return to walk off, that's just not good. The punt was bad to be in the middle of the field where you give the returner just all day to pick which side he wants to run up, and then there was bad positioning and missed tackles on that one as well. Yes, there was a missed call But even if you take that away, they're still in position to kick the game-winning field goal. So I'm even tossing that out. That didn't end up being the reason they lost this one. The last one that I want to go over before we can move over to the field goal on 4th and 2. I didn't like that play call then. I thought they should have went for it. They had the Jets on their heels. The offense was actually moving and clicking very well early in the game. I think he went for it because Aaron Rodgers was out of the game.
I think so,
and he saw, that's just Zach Wilson back there. He's not going to be able to move the ball. Just get any points you can. I just didn't like the 4th and 2. I thought he got too conservative, and I hopefully it truly was just a decision because he saw Zach Wilson over there, and this is not him going defensive coordinator role over head coaching and sticking to the numbers and going to be doing this the rest of the season, because that is not the offense and this is not the Buffalo Bills that we have grown accustomed to seeing, is kicking over going for it. And I did not like that decision then, and it looks like it came back to cost them.
Yeah, I remember in our one group chat, I think the second they said they were going to send the field goal unit on, I immediately booed, even though I love me some Tyler Bass. I still booed immediately. And I think the same thing. I think it is more the fact of who was on the other side of the field. I think if Rodgers is in that game and you expect it to be a little bit more high scoring, a little bit more intense, I think you go for it there. But because exactly what you said, you saw Wilson, you saw your defense playing really well, you trust your defense a lot. I think he was just in the mindset of any points on the board is really important because you're looking at a Jets team that's likely not going to score a lot on your defense. And it was true. They did not. So I do think the more, like, even in the moment when it was happening, it definitely seemed like it was because of who was on the other side of the field, not necessarily him not being aggressive, because we've seen him be aggressive in those situations a lot more recently. Like you said, something we've grown a little bit more accustomed to. And now, with this coming back to haunt them a little bit, hopefully not down the line, but currently it's definitely something they're going over. So I assume and hope that moving forward it'll be a little more aggressive.
So, Phil, if you will here, I'm going to go on my little rant spill here. And it's mostly due to Josh Allen. And I have been very complimentary. I know Josh Allen is one of those players that you're going to live and die by the arm and the brain of Josh Allen. And this was the worst I've seen of him since his rookie year. 3 interceptions and a fumble. All 3 interceptions were on him. The fumble was on him. He actually fumbled it twice on the same play, got credited for 2 fumbles. I can even excuse the first one because you can basically call it a punt. The next 2, he threw in a double coverage on Stephon Diggs again, overthrew him. And then the second one, double covered Gabe Davis. It made no sense. The fumble made no sense. He's just being careless. He's trying to do too much hero ball. And I don't want to hear anybody saying that this is on Ken Dorsey, that Ken Dorsey and the offensive coordinator and the play calling was bad in this game, because it wasn't. On that interception that he was throwing to Gabe Davis, you had Kincaid open, you had Stephon Diggs wide open for like a 3-yard gain to extend the drive, and then you also had Murray, who was wide open on the line of scrimmage that had nobody around him. There were 3 options that were wide open for Josh Allen to throw to, and he decided to play hero ball and try to get a 20-yard gain right there. It's just, I am sick and tired of him going up to the press conference after these losses and after these games that just don't work out for him, and just putting the onus on him. Yes, that's great that you can blame yourself, but when exactly are you going to correct the errors that keep happening? You keep saying, I got to be more protective of the ball. I got to slide in these situations. I got to get out of bounds. I can't take these hits and stuff like that. But he goes out and he does the exact same thing every single time. Eventually, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It's just, I didn't have anything really prepared for this, so I'm kind of just spitting at the top of my head. But it's just, I don't understand why 6 years in, this is his 6th year, he keeps making these same mistakes. And if you want to blame Ken Dorsey for anything, it's he hasn't been able to figure out how short of a leash or how long of a leash to give Josh Allen. This hero ball stuff has to stop. He might be thinking, hey, I got to play hero ball so I can help my team. But this game is solely on his shoulders, and he is the sole reason that they lost this game. Nobody else. The play calling, it might have been conservative and not creative. But when you're facing a top 10 defense like the New York Jets, it's you have to be more protective of the ball and, methodical moving down the field. I like the play calling. I think it needs to be more creative moving forward. But in this game, I don't put the blame on Ken Dorsey whatsoever. He's not the one that's telling Josh Allen, hey, throw 60 yards down the field in double coverage, shooting over the wide receiver, and let's see you throw it to the same safety 3 times over and over, and who just got a $250,000 bonus because he needed 3 interceptions this year, and he got all 3 in the first game. It's just Josh Allen needs to be better. He needs to be smarter, and he needs to stop going to the press conference after the game and saying, hey, I have to be better. I have to correct these things. We're going to watch the tape, because clearly nothing's changed in 6 years. And I'm trying not to overreact to one solo game, but this is more frustration than overreacting that I'm seeing the same thing over and over and over. We saw the same thing with the Bengals. We saw the same thing in the Miami game. It's just he's being too careless. He's being too, and I don't really care about interceptions all that much, but when you're destroying the game, they come back to haunt you. It's just he needs to be better. This is not the Josh Allen that we love. And it's just, where was the Rams and the Tennessee methodical moving down the field? Just the Tom Brady-esque play and decision making by him. It's just the decision making by your star quarterback just failed you. And this is the reason why everybody still has Patrick Mahomes over Josh Allen. And it's still the case today that Patrick Mahomes is over Josh Allen because Patrick Mahomes doesn't make these boneheaded decisions over and over and over. He corrects them and moves forward. It's just, it's frustrating to see a talented player with that much just amazing capabilities continue to make the same boneheaded decisions.
Yeah, I think like you said, the game's completely on Allen, which he agreed to. But at the same time, like you said, how many times have we seen that over and over? And it's just, I mean, the one interception that I'll give him is the one that kind of was pretty much like a punt, yes, where it was 3rd and long, and you just kind of wung it. Whatever, that is what it is. But the other ones where you're throwing into double, triple coverage, hoping, I don't know what's going to happen other than that. And even his fumble, like, what was he doing on that play where he literally just stood up into the defender and then got rocked? Like, it just didn't look like him at all. And even on the bench the entire game, he just looked shell-shocked. Like, it just did not look like Josh Allen at all. There was no swagger, there was no intensity, there was no confidence. I mean, that's what Allen's all about. It's all about his, trash talking, getting in the other team's face, making plays. He was just so calm and kind of weird in a way. I mean, he was sitting on the bench by himself, just kind of moping the entire game. I mean, something bad would happen, he would throw his hat on, sit on the bench by himself, and that was it. Like, no one was talking to him. He wasn't up walking around. He wasn't up watching his defense. It was just so weird to see him not mentally there. Like, he just looked so out of it until that last drive where he needed to dial it in, and then all of a sudden him and Diggs just went on that run. But I mean, even then, you could see the intensity that Diggs had the entire game. I mean, Diggs went over and finally talked to Allen. We need you, settle down, we got this. Even that last drive, Diggs is getting up. Pretty much every play that Diggs caught, he's getting up and, getting excited, doing a little bit of celebration. And Allen just did not seem like he was there. He just didn't seem like he had the same intensity and swagger that we see and he is known for. Just, I don't know, it was just missing. And even that play, like you mentioned, like trying to slide and not take injuries when he's diving for, who knows what reason, when he's 6 yards from a first down, he decides to try to leap to get 1 extra yard. Or there was another play where he could have ran out of bounds. Instead, he stays in and gets 2 more yards after he already had a first down. It's just plays like that and just the decision making on his throws. And like you said, people were getting open. I don't think it was the play calling all that much. I mean, sure, a play here or there is probably not going to be the best decision. I mean, that happens with pretty much every single team, but a lot of it came down to Allen's decision-making, and what he was deciding was just not it. And I don't know, he just didn't look like he was there. Like, mentally, he just did not look like he was there. I really hope, we've been asking for this since last season when it went really well for that Rams game and the Tennessee game early in the year, that he just settles down and goes methodically down the field and stops trying to play hero ball every 3 seconds. Like, you have talented enough wide receivers now, especially with Knox and Kincaid, that you can go 5-6 yards a throw. You got Cook that can get you 4 or 5 yards a carry, and then even 4 or 5 yards out of the backfield as a receiver. You have all these options now. Stop trying to go 20, 30 yards down the field on every single play and just hoping that the result changes, which it clearly isn't. I mean, saw something today that said he's given up the most interceptions since entering the league.
Turnovers. Yeah,
turnovers
84
in general,
turnovers since 2018.
which is insane. I mean, if he doesn't do the things he does, and this team isn't winning also because their defense is really, really good, you're looking at a lot of different question marks for Allen just based on that stat alone. I mean, no team, for the most part, is going to put up with a situation like that if Allen wasn't also doing the incredible things that we know he can do, and the running ability he has, the throwing ability he has, like you said, the talent that he has. It's all there. He just needs to put it back together. And right now, again, you don't want to overreact. The Jets defense is really, really good, but the biggest concern to me is just that he just did not look mentally like he was in that game from the start.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it. They have all the pieces. It's just he needs to. If I was a defensive coordinator, what I would tell my defense is, hey, give up those 4, 5, 6 yard plays. That's perfectly fine. Let them move down the field methodically, because eventually he's going to get impatient and he's going to try to play hero ball, and you're going to be able to capitalize and get the ball turned over. He hasn't shown since those 2 first games last year that he is capable of doing those long 12, 15 yard or 15 play drives down the field for a touchdown. He just hasn't been able to do it. And yes, he had that one amazing throw to Stephon Diggs for the touchdown. I don't know how he stayed behind the line. I don't know how he zipped it in there, but you get those type of plays. And I'm perfectly fine with Josh Allen turning the ball over and throwing interceptions. But in like normal situations, like don't throw it in double coverage shooting over your wide receivers. Don't throw it to Gabe Davis when you have 3 other guys. If you're trying to squeeze it in a tight window and it gets picked off, perfectly fine with that one, because you're taking the opportunity and you live and die by Josh Allen, and he has those high highs and those low lows, and this is the lowest low we've seen from him in a while. But the last thing I'll say, and then we can kind of move on, is Josh Allen and everybody else came into the season saying this is the most laser focused he has been on football in his career. Maybe be a little less laser focused, and maybe you can go back to like your runner-up MVP year in 2020 and 2021 or whatever the heck year that was. Because right now, in one game in, again, I'm not trying to overreact, but one game in, that laser-focused is, if this was laser eye surgery, the guy would be blind. That's all I'm going to say. So, Phil, I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about this game, but Sunday versus the Raiders, it is a must-win. You can't fall 0-2 to start the season. You can't, because there will be riots in the street.
Yeah, no, we can wrap up this sad game and move on.
Yeah, so we'll cover the Raiders versus the Bills game, home opener, next, one of the very rare 1 o'clock games now, which I don't like whatsoever. But yeah, 1 o'clock game. But Phil, we'll move on to Fantasy Blitz here. Last week's review, one of us did good, one of us did not that great, and we're looking for players that are outside the ranking of, or going into the projection of rankings, whatever you want to call it, outside of the 20s. So you're looking for a guy that's in like 26th ranked spot right now, or projection spot, and the 37th or something like that. And you're trying to pick those guys that you think can get into the top 12 of running back, wide receiver, or the top 10 of quarterback, tight end. You're trying to give them, you're not trying to grab like, oh, this guy's ranked 13th, I think he can get in the top 12. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to pick our guys. So my guy last week was David Montgomery. He was ranked 25th. He finished 13th. I was that close. You had Deion Jackson, who was ranked 34th. The opportunity was there. Everything that you said made sense, but he fumbled it away and finished ranked 69. So one of us did better than the other so far. So that's 1 point to PK.
Yeah, he was terrible. Just absolutely terrible. That's all I had to say.
Hopefully they didn't listen to you, Phil.
He was terrible. Just real bad.
But week 1, was very bad. It was some of the lowest fantasy scoring points in like the history of fantasy, or I'm just making that up. At least in our leagues, it was one of the lowest scoring weeks I've ever seen in the 7 years in our league that's been up and running. But Phil, for week 2, once again, we're looking for a lower ranked player that is currently outside, like, say, the top 20, that we believe will finish inside the top 12 of running back or wide receivers, and then top 10 of quarterback, tight end. Phil, who is your player for week 2 of Fantasy Blitz?
Yeah, my guy is a little bit higher, but he is outside the top 20. I'm not sure which rankings you're using. We probably should have talked about that.
I'm using
beforehand.
ESPN.
I was as well, but they only have PPR rankings out of half, which I would have preferred. But right now, for full PPR rankings, I'm going Michael Pittman against Houston. He is currently ranked 22nd. And last week against Houston, Baltimore played them. I don't know if you know what Baltimore is, but Lamar Jackson did not play all that good. At the same time, Zay Flowers went 9 for 10 for 78 yards in his rookie debut. And Pittman last week played really, really well. He went 8 of 11 for 97 and 1. I think he gets a good matchup in Houston, so I think he can pretty much repeat those numbers. He clearly is the number 1 for the Colts, and 11 targets they just had, plus a touchdown, plus almost 100 yards. If Zay Flowers in his rookie debut with Baltimore can do the same thing or similar against Houston, I think Pittman can do that or better as well this week. So Pittman is my guy to get back inside the top 10.
You love those Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, you just got to go back to the well until it breaks, even though it already broke.
Even though it's already dry.
It's already dry. Well, we're trying to get some buckets of water back into the well. We're filling the well
from
ourselves,
the top.
or we're hoping for. It rained a lot today, so
I am going somebody that's a little bit deeper. That definitely hurt me week 1. If he would have had one more catch, I would have walked out victorious. But I'm going DJ Moore. He's currently ranked 31 in wide receivers half PPR ranking. He's going against Tampa Bay's defense. And they just faced Minnesota last week. Jefferson went 9 for 150. Addison, who was your boy until you just traded him this morning, went 4 for 61 and a touchdown. Osborne even went 3 for 31. DJ Moore last week was only targeted 2 times, and I don't think they brought him in and traded off the number 1 pick to bring him in to play that role. Fields had 37 passing attempts. 7 went to Mooney, 7 went to Kmet, 2 went to Claypool, 2 went to Scott, and then Herbert had 5, Johnson had 7, Foreman had 3. That's 15 of the 37 attempts went to the running back positions. I feel like they overcorrected from what they did last year, where it was more just gung-ho down the field trying to do that, and not so much just the dump-offs to the running backs. I think they overcorrected. I think they're going to look at the tape. Justin Fields needs to take that next step in his passing game. He has the running abilities. A lot of people were calling for the breakout of Justin Fields this year, and to have a breakout like that, you need a true number 1 wide receiver. DJ Moore is a true number 1 wide receiver. This is the best quarterback he's had in his career. I really think that if they look at the tape, they're going to see DJ Moore is open a lot more. He wasn't even being looked at. So I really think this is a DJ Moore week against a very bad Tampa Bay defense. DJ Moore, I'm writing it down, 8 for 102 and 1. That's a PK guarantee for you.
I think we can. I don't know. I was trying to up Pittman's what he did last week. What's he? 8 for 11 for 97 and 1. I pretty much just want to repeat. I'll go 9, 1, 11 and 1 for funsies.
I like it.
And as far as Chicago, I believe Fantasy Footballers said that 34 of their 37 pass attempts went for under 10 yards, which is
ridiculous,
mind-blowing that you can throw the ball 37 times in general. That's a lot of passes, not unheard of, but that's a lot of passes, and keep 34 of them under 10 yards. That's
when you're
insane.
getting blown out.
When you're getting blown out. So hopefully, like you said, I think honestly the blowout on top of that also I would hope would have you thinking, we should probably switch up what we just did because it didn't work. But at the same time, while you're getting blown out, you're still throwing that short. I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one. I hope for your sake. I was pretty big on DJ Moore in the draft as well this year for fantasy, so I kind of hope that it works out for you.
Thanks. We'll see. Check back next week for week 3 as we review week 2s and move on to week 3s of Fantasy Blitz. But that was our second installment of Fantasy Blitz, and we move on to our final segment. It is a jam-packed Buffalo Bandits segment here. We have 6 signings to go over and a trade, and then I'm wearing my shirt with a tie on it. I've dressed fancy because we're going to pretend to be GMs for the day. But we'll go over the signings real quick. Brad McCulley, he needed a new deal. He was not an RFA. He just didn't have enough seniority, I'll call it, to be an RFA. So he needed a new deal. He re-signed for 2 years. He set career highs in games played, goals, assists, points, and loose balls. Just one of those grinders last year that played a pivotal role, not just when Josh Byrne went down, but when Chris Cloutier went down, when Brandon Robinson went down, when all the lefties went down, he was the last man standing. So I thought he played very well back there. We'll just go over the 2 other first-round picks that also signed, and then we'll go over more of the depth guys that also signed. But they also inked their 2022 first-round draft pick, 13th overall, Cam Wires, to a 2-year deal. He's a 6'5", 220 defender with Loyola. He had 69 games played, 3-7-10, but he had 157 loose balls and 79 caused turnovers. With the Archers and the PLL, he played long stick midi. He had 5 games played, 1 goal, 1 point, 5 ground balls, and 4 caused turnovers. Just an absolute monster. And Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, but we were calling for a lot more caused turnovers. And this next player also does that. Zach Belter, another 2022 first-round draft pick, 19th overall, 2-year deal. He's another defenseman. He's also 6'5". He's 225. He played 5 years at St. Bonaventure, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points in 50 career games, but 62 caused turnovers and 93 loose balls. They beefed up their back end even more, and I'm just happy that they got their entire 2022 draft class signed, and we're going to go over the other 3 in a minute, but it's just they brought in some big-bodied bruisers back there that like to cause turnovers and get the balls to the forward.
Yeah, those 2 are huge to sign because exactly what you said. They're literally big, and but it's also just the style of defense that I think the Bandits like to have. And again, I mean, I don't like talking about it like this because the team is still very much in a championship window, but at some point Priolo is going to hang it up, and it's great to get players like this in now, whether they're in the starting roster or not, to try to have them learn from players like Priolo. So when Priolo is ready to hang it up, whether it be next year, the year after, these young players are right there to take over. You don't want to be scrambling to reset your team while, you know, those players are on their way out and you have no one right behind them or no one learning the system. So I think it's really, really good to see them getting a few really monster defenders that can just be game changers, whether it be this year or down the road for this team. It's really good to see just an influx of talent like that. And again, 2 of the style of defenders that work really well for the Bandits. I mean, we saw 2 years ago, Colorado just push the Bandits defense all around and just made them kind of look silly. So the Bandits have done a really good job finding defenders that are bigger and will not have that happen to them, to kind of stay away from that style of offense, that if someone is a big offensive player who is going to be, you know, just using their bodies to push in, it's something that the Bandits are kind of really locking down and making sure that that style of offense does not beat them. And any other style of offense, they've pretty much had an answer for so far. So really like what they did and really happy they were able to sign both of those first-round picks from last year.
So another defender gets signed here, another 2022 draft pick, Ryan Sharkey, 4th rounder, 73rd overall. He's 6 foot, 180, 4 years at Canisius, 70 loose balls, 29 caused turnovers in 39 games. He spent 2023 at UMass, had 12 loose balls, 11 caused turnovers in just 14 games. Christian Watts, he was a 2022 5th-round pick, 82 overall. He's a forward. He's 6'4", 193, another big guy back there, or up in the forward group, I should say. He played in Siena for college, 56 games. He went 31-81, but he also played in the UCBLL, which is kind of hosted between Rochester and the Buffalo Bandits. He finished his career there 2 years with a league record 115 points, 63 goals, 52 assists, just an absolute monster in that game. And then Austin Bloomberg, He was a 2022 fifth-round pick, 88 overall. He's a transition player. He played 5 years at St. Bonaventure, 54, 12, and 66, 47 loose balls. And then in 2 years, also in the Upstate Collegiate Box Lacrosse League, UCBLL, similar to Watts. He finished with 24, 25, and 49 points. Absolute monster numbers from the transition game.
Yeah, Sharky, absolutely love the name. So I hope he gets in there because I want to see what Swanee decides if he ever gets a goal.
I don't really want that because I think Baby Shark can be played nonstop.
Maybe he just uses the Jaws theme song. Don't
I would like that
Don't
better.
pigeonhole him into the Baby Shark song. It's not, it's not his fault his last name is Sharky. All right? He didn't ask for this.
That's fair.
But Christian Watts seems absolutely insane. Like you said, led the league record with 115 points, 6'4", 193. So a big forward, but a big forward who can absolutely bury the ball and also throw a lot of assists around. Similar to, I don't know, Dane Smith, Josh Byrne, something similar to that. I'm not going to make that exact comparison, but that style of players. So I love that they were able to get him not only in the 5th round, but also inked. And Bloomberg, like you said, another player who just played really, really well for the UCBLL and looks like another good signing by the Buffalo Bandits.
So with that, all of the 2022 draft picks have been signed. This is something that we've been waiting for and calling for a while now, and they got all of their guys, including a Dylan Robinson who signed last year, all to their deals. So training camp's going to be jam-packed, and we'll go over that in a minute. But another trade went down, this time involving the Buffalo Bandits. It was a 3-team trade that sent Nate Kuznetsnikov, one of the last times I'll ever have to say that, to Saskatchewan. Austin Madronic went to New York along with a Bandits 2026 third-round pick. And then Steve Orleman, a New York second-round pick in 2024 and 2025, came to the Buffalo Bandits. So Kuznetsnikov goes to Saskatchewan, Madronic and a pick go to New York, and then Orleman and 2 second-round picks come to Buffalo. So, Phil, what is your thought on the 3-team trade that went down after we recorded and put this episode? So it went down like a week ago.
Overall, this is nothing against Nate K, but the backlog that the Bandits kind of have for talent right now, that they are pretty much set everywhere and seem to be for a little bit. I think it's really good for him to get shipped off, and at the same time, I think the Bandits kind of made it out like Bandits, getting New York's 2 second-round picks. I think that's really impressive return, plus Steve Orleman. So, honestly, to me, Nate K for 2 second-round picks sounds like a lot for the Bandits to kind of make away with. So you get a goalie prospect on top of that. I think they did a really good job, finding a way to make that trade work for everybody. I think the Bandits arguably got the best of it. I know Madronic is very good, and obviously Nate K going back home, so I think it's really good for him to also possibly get some play time out there with the Rush. He still could be a very good player. I think he definitely flashed when he had the opportunities with the Bandits, so I don't think he's going to be missed. He was a good player. The Bandits had him in their system for quite a long time, so good to see the Bandits, in a way, rewarded for their patience with him and the injuries he was going through. The Bandits never really gave up on him as a player, finally got him into some games last year, and now are able to flip him for, at the very least, 2 second-round picks for New York. And hopefully, I know New York, we agreed, had one of the better off seasons, but hopefully they haven't, put it together enough for the next couple of years, so their draft picks will hopefully still be on the higher side of things for those 2 second-round picks. And I think overall, it's a good trade, and I think it does benefit the Bandits arguably the most, depending on what Madronic ends up being, and Nate K for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, Kuznetsnikov was drafted in 2019, second round, 29th overall. So for him to stick around in an organization this long shows how much value that the Buffalo Bandits put in him and how much time and commitment they put into him. And I know he was out for a while with that horrible injury, and he finally came back this year, scored a goal, which was a great moment. But like you said, he was playing on that side that had Dane in front of him, Chase in front of him, Kyle Buchanan, who re-signed, in front of him, Nanakoke in front of him. He might have even had Sam LaRue in front of him also. So it was just such a loaded right-handed side that there was just no room for him to. So send him back out west, where he's playing for a younger Saskatchewan Rush team who he might have minutes there. So I think that is great. The biggest thing that I want to talk about with this one, because I saw it all over the internet and a lot of the Facebook groups and stuff like that, is This trade does not mean they are done or quitting on Delvin Shanahan. I saw too many posts that saying, hey, Steve Lorelman is the goalie of the future. He's the guy that's going to be behind Dane Smith, or I'm sorry, Matt Vince in the net as soon as Matt Vince retires. That's not the case. Like, there's going to be a battle in camp between these two guys. Shanahan is a really, really good developing goalie back there who, in very limited moments this past year, played very well. And in the summer ball, he played extremely well. So I am not saying that Orleman is going to win the job. I'm not saying he's going to lose the job. I'm just saying you can't dismiss that Delvin Shanahan is still in the system, still a guy that's developing, and a guy that the Buffalo Bandits have put a lot of time and resources into. And you and I were going back and forth after this trade went down. Having 3 goalies in camp on the roster before the season kicks off is very, very normal. So anybody saying, like, why do they have three goalies in camp? 14 of the 15 teams right now, all but Albany, currently has at least 3 goalies on the roster currently. So Orleman and Shanahan are going to battle it out to see who goes behind Matt Vince. The backup is probably not going to get any time, because you saw what happened to Shanahan last year, got barely any time. But just a couple. Orleman last year, he was 3-8 with a 14.02 goals against and a 75 save percentage. But in 2022, when he was a rookie, he was 6-11 with a 12.1 goals against and a 7.67 save percentage. Again, as a rookie, he holds the record for 656 saves, which is 53 more than second place. He is a guy that was in a system and behind a defense that was not very good. So to come to the Buffalo Bandits and have an opportunity to play behind that defense, those numbers are going to improve. Again, it's going to be a battle between Orleman and Shanahan, who comes out of it, and it'll be very interesting to see who and what they do with that third man on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I was trying to keep my cool a little bit. It's kind of annoying seeing the amount of Orleman love already. I just don't understand it. I understand he's played okay. I understand he was in front of a bad defense, but look, he got beat out last year by a different goalie on the exact same team. So to say that he's coming in here and is immediately going to be the backup, is immediately going to take over Vince, I just don't get the humongous Orleman love from this trade. I agree with you. I think there's going to be a battle for a backup, but Shanahan's done nothing on this team or in the organization's eyes to
100%
not say that he's the backup right now. Like you said, he has an incredible summer. People are saying Orleman's 24 years old. Shanahan's 24 years old. I know he's been around for a long time with the Bandits, but he's also very young. They're the exact same age, so they can easily both fight it out to be Vince's backup, who, again, for the next 2 years likely won't be playing at all. Hopefully, fingers crossed that he won't be playing at all. But either way, I don't understand the amount of people that have completely overshadowed and given up on Shanahan when I don't think the organization has. I don't think Shanahan has. I mean, he's been in this system for a while. He's played behind Vince for a while. What was that?
He was been in the organization since 2018. He was a 4th-round pick, 43 overall in 2018.
So, I mean, that's 5 years he's been with the Bandits,
right,
and most of that is behind Matt Vince, learning from him. And like you said, he's still growing. He's still playing really well. He just had a fantastic summer of lacrosse. So I just don't understand the extreme love for Orleman. The second he got traded, everyone's like, oh, he's got the backup. He's the future of this team. It's amazing. I just don't get it. I do think Orleman's good. I think he has the ability to possibly be the backup. I think it'll be a good camp battle between both of them, but I just don't believe at all that Orleman's just outright got the job right now. I think the Bandits will watch closely and see who really wins that battle, but I think Shanahan has every ability to win that battle, considering he's been with the team 5 years, and so far he's done nothing but play really, really well when given the opportunity. And again, his summer ball was really good as well. So I think it'll be a good battle, but it's just frustrating to see the amount of people who have immediately given the keys to the future of the pipes of the Buffalo Bandits to Orleman. Just, I don't get it. I don't get where it's coming from, considering Shanahan's been here for so long and he's played really well. It'd be one thing if Shanahan, just wasn't developing. I would say, okay, then maybe they're trying to find a new backup, but Shanahan's been developing really well behind the best goalie, arguably, of all time, and he continues to develop. So I think it'll be a really good camp battle. I think it'll be a fun camp battle. I was happy that you looked up how many teams go into camp with 3 goalies, so that made sense. And I really don't know if there will be roster spots for both of them, possibly in one of the weird, practice squad or lower ways. They will find a way to keep all 3, but in the active roster, you're probably only going to end up with 2. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up winning it and how it goes down. But I think it's a good move. I'm excited that Orleman's here, and we'll see how it kind of all shakes out.
Yeah, Dietrich definitely took from his pool of surplus and kind of grabbed 2 extra draft picks along with a goaltender to add that to a position that they needed more depth to. So I definitely like the trade, and good luck to Nate Kuznetsnikov. It took us forever to learn your last name, and now you're out the door, and we don't have to say it anymore as long as you don't score with Saskatchewan versus Buffalo. But schedule's coming out soon, so maybe you do. Maybe I'll have to say your name again. Who knows? But Phil, moving on. The draft is this Saturday, 2 o'clock, the 16th. Now, I didn't want to rant too much, but this is stupid. There's no other way to say it. The draft is not going to be broadcasted in any way. You're going to have to follow them only on their social media sites or online. It's pathetic. This is a professional league that is doing everything in their part to stop the growth of the league. Your goal when running the league is supposed to take the league to the next step. One of those parts is broadcast the draft, not just for the fans, but all the new players that are coming in, Phil. Imagine working your entire life for this moment, and you get a little blurb on Twitter or X or Facebook or online instead of actually having it, even just YouTube, Phil. You and I and producer Pat can put stuff out on YouTube. How can a multi-million-dollar industry like the NLL can't put it together and have a broadcast on their own YouTube site that you can stream live? Even just have it delayed, something like that, where you can just have the players that are coming into this league deserve the opportunity and their moment that they've worked their whole lives for, and you're just basically saying it doesn't matter. Follow us on social media. That's how you're going to see it. It's just, it's so frustrating to see a league that you love and that you know its potential do everything they can do to stop the growth of the game. It's just, this is his full first offseason, is Brett Frude's first full offseason at the helm. I don't know how this wasn't worked out as soon as you knew when the draft was. I just don't understand how this wasn't worked out. Just have Teddy Jenner and Pat Gregor just talk about the picks. They know everything in this league. I just don't understand how this wasn't set up. You don't even have to have players walk across the stage and meet the commissioner or anything. Just have them broadcast the picks and stuff like that. It's just, it's so annoying, these little things that the league just overlooks, and it's getting so annoying. And Phil, I think I put it on Twitter before we started talking about this. I can't wait for the annual tradition of all the NLL stats just to be wiped out. That's the type of league that they're running right now, and just this is another mark of just stupidity that they have thrown out at the fans, just going, hey, we don't care. Follow us on social media. That's all we care about.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Did they not broadcast one recently?
Yeah, I think there was the first round last year was on their website, and we were able to watch it. I'm 90% sure of that.
Pretty sure we were watching and actually getting analysis, and that's the biggest thing I think people want to see, is because these players, they're very hard to follow, across the entire leagues. I mean, a lot of these websites do a really good job giving their top 50 or giving their draft ideas, but a lot of the fans that want to follow their team can't really follow these players because a lot of them play in college, a lot of them play in small leagues where we're struggling to find the stats for all these players in general that we're trying to kind of aim for in the draft. And luckily we found other people that have articles that kind of explain it, but getting into the deeper rounds, we don't really have that. And just like you said, if you can't get everyone together, because a lot of these players are spread out over the country, the league doesn't have enough money to fly them all in. They don't have enough money. The players don't have enough money to fly in to one location. That's fine. But get your analysts that are, out there commentating on the game every single day, get them in front of a green screen, have the pick come up, have a countdown come up, and just have the analysts explain that pick to the fan base and like how it kind of fits in with that team. Like, oh, they picked a forward in this third round. This is this guy. This is the basic stats we have on him. And here's how he can fit into this team. Might not make the team this year, whatever it is. Like you said, you don't need all the players in one place walking across the stage, meeting the commissioner, but just to have a couple of analysts explain the pick to these teams and to these fan bases that don't really know who these players are. I mean, even for the NHL, I mean, even the NFL, a lot of these like deeper picks, but especially something like the NHL, like you and I, after the Sabres picks are done, because they're so deep playing in leagues across the entire world, that we're going immediately to, you know, these places that have analysts and they go through and analyze every single pick and how it fits, who this player is. That's what fan bases are looking for, and that's what the NLL needed to do again, to just have somebody out there explain to these fan bases who just joined their team and how that player might fit into their system. But again, it's just a missed opportunity. I don't think you needed to have everybody there. You didn't need to have everybody meet the commissioner. Just have a couple of your big-time analysts announce the pick, have a countdown, say what the picks are, and explain how it fits the team. I feel like we're not really looking for much. I feel like we're not really asking for much, but something as what seems to be as simple as that would have gone a long way, I think, for the fans, and just to not have anything other than announcements on social media just seems like another big miss on their part.
NLL, I'm coming for you. Half a star. That's all you get. You get a half star.
And it's because we love you and we want you to do great. And it's frustrating as fans of the game and of the sport and of the league to see them just missing these opportunities. We are upset because we care.
Yeah, I said this when the Sabres were horrible. You shouldn't be mad or look away from the fans that are getting upset with your performance. You need to be worried when it starts going silent, because when they're mad and they still talk about it, they still care. When you hear me shut up about something like that, that's when you need to be concerned, because that means I stop caring, because you clearly don't listen. So my frustration, and if you want to call it anger with this situation, is because I care about the league and I love the league and I see so much potential in this league, and you're just doing everything, in my opinion, you're doing everything that you can to stunt its growth. And it's just so frustrating that they can't do the most simple and basic things that just you and I can do. We can put out a YouTube stream and a service like that, and somehow a multi-million-dollar industry can't do it. It's frustrating, and I'll leave it at that. But I didn't really want to come into this ranting. I just saw it on social media before we even started, talking about it, and I had to just rant about it, because it's been a while since you got a PK rant. You got 2 of them today, so I can go dormant for a while. But Phil, let's lock in what we want to do with these picks that the Buffalo Bandits have. They got 15, they got 38, they got 53, 68, 82, and 93. They got a pick in each one. The second round pick, the 38th overall, is a compository pick that they, I believe, and I'm not even going to say it because I'm not positive where it came from, but I think it's going to be Kevin Barnell from last year, him signing in New York. But they got a pick in each round. First time in a while they've had a pick in each round. Last year they had 3 first-round picks, and then not again until the 4th and the 2 5ths. But, Phil, if you're sitting in that GM seat right now, you're Steve Dietrich, what are you doing with that first pick, number 15 overall?
Yeah, you and I both agree, and I think we kind of agreed on our little bit of preview last time, but there is one player who I think we've been after, this style of player, for a few years now, and the Bandits have kind of, me especially, I really want it more than anything in this draft. If this player is called for the Bandits, not called, if they are slowly announced on social media for the Bandits, I will be sad at first at how it was announced, and then very excited that they're banned. And that's Jacob Hickey, transition. He's a lefty, Toronto Beaches, Junior A. Played with Dylan Robinson. He is 6'4", plays transition, as we mentioned, plays both ends, is really, really good in his defensive side, and really, really good on the offensive end as well. 35 goals, 86 points over the last 2 seasons. Honestly, for me, I could care less about the rest of the draft, and I don't mean that in the fact that I won't be excited with whoever they pick. I'll still be obviously following it and see how it all goes down. But to me, if you can trade up and do whatever you can to get a player like this, he's one of the highest ranked transition players in this draft. He has the size, he has the elite ability on offense and defense. this is the player that the Bandits need. They need a player who can come in, play both ends, very similar to how Ian McKay played last year, a true transition player. And for him to be the size he is on top of all of that, it's just the exact pick that I want. And again, the rest of the draft, to me, there aren't too many openings on this roster. There are pretty much, I would guess, 0 openings on this roster. So I would be thrilled with them, even if they are able to couple a New York second round from next year or 2025, however they want to do it. But do whatever you have to do to move up in the first round to get this player and have him land on this team. If he is not available, honestly, the rest of the draft won't be nearly as exciting. But with the amount of talent they have on this roster and the amount of picks that they just signed that they already don't have room for, we've talked about this a little bit, but I want to kick every single pick you can to the future, even if you're picking these players still, and just make sure they are going back to college. And like we've mentioned before, kick this problem down the road as far as you possibly can.
I agree with everything you said, which is not fun podcasting. I like to argue with you, but Jacob Hickey is definitely my pick if he's there on the clock. But let's say he isn't. Let's say Buffalo can't trade up and he's gone by 15. This is what I'm doing. I got my nice shirt. I got my tie on. So I'm sitting in the GM seat. This is what I'm doing. Calling Georgia, going, hey, you might have went on that run, but your time's over. You're not making the playoffs. Let's start moving some veteran pieces. I will send you the 15th overall pick, which is a great pick. You know, there's tons of talent here. We just don't got room for him. We're going to trade you Devin Maya, the player that we traded the 31st overall pick last year for, and the 2024 third-round pick that we traded to San Diego for this guy. And we're going to toss in a fourth also. All you got to do is give us Jordan McIntosh, because I have fully come on board with your transition game. I've said it in the last show. I think we both pounded in there. We and the organization, I hate using we because we don't play for them. The organization needs a piece behind Ian McKay. We were so scared in the finals when he went down non-contact. I thought he was done for the finals, and we're going, who the heck is going to replace and try to replace, because there's no replacing Ian McKay. He's one of the best players in the entire world. Jordan McIntosh is, yes, he's older, but he's still got 2 years left. He was 5, 14-19 last year, 132 loose balls, 26 caused turnovers, 10 block shots. I just think he would be the perfect guy to fall behind Ian McKay, and not just fall behind. He's a veteran presence on. He's the captain of Georgia. So yes, I don't think this is going to happen. But if I am in the GM seat, I am calling Georgia and I'm going, what else do I have to package to get Jordan McIntosh? Because if Hickey's gone, again, we're not experts in the draft pool of the NLL. We're talking behind a microphone for a reason. We're not in the GM seat for a reason. I just play pretend while wearing my t-shirt with a fake tie on it. Phil, I don't really want any of the other players. I like you, and I know you were watching videos of and reading up on Jacob Hickey before we started editing last week's episode. I did the same thing on Thursday when I was watching it. I want Hickey. If you can't get Hickey, I don't want anybody else. It's no offense to anybody else in the draft pick. I'm gonna love whoever they take with 15 if Hickey's not there, but I'd rather just try to get that transition guy and try to get a guy behind Ian McKay. Again, Hickey might not play next year if he does get drafted by the Buffalo Bandits. I haven't looked it up. I got to find out if he's going back to school or not. I think he's going back to school, though. But if he's not there, McIntosh will be behind Ian McKay, and it solves that massive hole that you have there. Bubble team. Yeah, we said it multiple times so far this offseason, and we'll say it again, and we'll probably say it again multiple more times. It's a good problem to have, to not have room on this team, because you're bringing back all but one piece of a championship team last year, and you're just adding more and more talent to the pool. So there's nothing wrong with some competition in camp, and that's exactly what they're going to get, because this team is absolutely loaded. There's no spots, and I don't know how Steve Dietrich is going to work his wizardry like he did last year, but he's got it. I think his job's even tougher this year because of how many pieces there's still on this team and how many more pieces they added. But Phil, is there anything else to this one before we start, our final days of training for Tough Mudder? Yeah, it's in Canada. So if you don't hear from us next Wednesday, send the Mounties and come help us. We're stuck up there. But yeah, on our next show, we'll go over the Bills versus the Raiders game that is taking place, the rare 1:00 game on Sunday. We'll go into week 3 of our Fantasy Blitz, and we'll have some new Buffalo Bandits to talk about with the draft happening Saturday at 2. Again, follow them on social media. That's the only way you'll find out who's getting taken. So stupid. But thank you all for listening to our show and listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Follow us. I know that's a little irony, but follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on Twitter at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye.